Think of something small that you can hold tightly in one hand. Maybe a small round stone, or maybe a great idea that you wrote on a scrap of paper. Now imagine something larger. To hold it, you'll need to open your arms. And now, even with your arms open, it's so large, you need to invite others over with their arms open to help you move it. Holding tightly to an idea means complete control of something small. And arms wide open represents letting go of control in favor of harnessing the power of collaboration to move big things.
A Philippine podcast show dedicated to help you thrive for greatness.
This guy is phenomenally passionate about what he does.
How freaking amazing Jamir is. So skilled and so qualified, and I highly recommend him.
Without a doubt, the best funnel builder I've ever come across.
Yeah, really into the detail and cannot recommend him highly enough.
Not only was efficient and fast, but he understood the project.
The person who built our entire funnel from beginning to end and has been with us since day one is Jamir.
Nothing But Up, the podcast. With your host, Jamir Angelo.
I'm always flexing.
Hey, great day to all of you. Yet another special episode today, guys. And this one is by far the most solid you guys will witness. We have a recognized Forbes 30 Under 30 awardee, the CEO of Planable, Senya Monten. And this is Nothing But Up, the podcast, episode number 12. Yep. Don't ever dare missing this out, as you'll regret this seriously. Okay. Now, jumping in today's topic, today's topic is all about the power of collaboration. Why does it matter to me, or why you should even care? Well, what's the secret to unlocking the creativity hidden inside your daily work and, giving every great idea a chance? Well, leading innovation is not about, creating a vision, inspiring others to execute it, but what do you literally mean by innovation? So, for me, an innovation is anything that is both new or useful in a way. It can be a product or a service. It can be a process or a way of organizing. It can be incremental, or it can be your breakthrough. We have a pretty inconclusive definition when it comes to that. But when many of us think about innovation, though, we think about Einstein having that aha moment. But we all know that's a myth. Innovation is not about solo genius. It's about, for me at least, it's about collective genius. So how did I go from being a security guard, literally earning way less than what, my heart and mind tells me, that I deserve way higher than this? I did not do this all alone. It was the power of collaboration, in the sense that I honed and mastered, my skill set by joint ventures, opening my mind to, opinions and suggestions to become better every day. And I thrived for excellence. And, I won't be making it if my mind shuts down, ideas from others. What we know is, at the heart of innovation is a paradox. You have to unleash the talents and the passion of, many people, and you have to harness them into a work that is actually useful, if it makes sense to you. And for me, innovation is also a journey. It's a type of collaborative problem solving, usually among people who have different expertise and different points of view, right? Innovations rarely get created full blown. That is a fact. As many of you know, they're the results usually, of a trial and error. Lots of false starts, missteps, mistakes. Innovative work can be very exhilarating in a way too, but it also can be really downright scary, and that's a fact. But really wasn't afraid to fail. I failed when I started. What did I have to lose anyway, right? I have everything to gain. So I just literally started out and pulled the trigger. I never realized this until I finally made the biggest breakthrough of my career. I started freelancing. I was flying solo. I felt like I have to collect all the skill sets available to consume, master each and every single one of it so I can offer multiple skills to my clientele. And as crazy as this may sound, but I collected and mastered almost every single skill set you could ever imagine. I was great at audio editing, video editing, sales, marketing, doing sales calls, copywriting, podcast productions, content creation, social media marketing, email marketing. I worked my ass off to master every single freaking platform there is. Like, ClickFunnels, Lead Pages, InstaPage, 10-minute webinar funnels, GoToWebinar, Webinar Jam, Easy Webinar, Stripe, MailChimp, Aweber, GetResponse, Infusionsoft, all those stuff, ActiveCampaign, Cloudflare, Typeforms, diversed my way in with social media marketing, working my way up as well, using WordPress, Kalatu, Zendesk, Odelo, Podio, Acoustica, Audacity, Expressions 4, Slack, Trello, Asana, you name it. I may have literally used, maybe 90% of the tools internet marketers are actually using. But I spent years mastering this. And then I hit a roadblock, a major roadblock. There were months where I was left hanging. I mean, literally no more jobs to take, no invites I'm receiving. That means I literally had no money for a few months, right? And then I suddenly realized working hard is good, right? But working smarter is the way to go. I was blessed to have worked with, for a very stable marketing agency during this time. And I was able to be a part of a huge team. There, I witnessed how their CEO handles the team, my previous boss. And one of the major keys of achieving success is by way of collaboration. It was that exact moment that I realized I can't do it all alone. I can do it, all of this at once. So my mindset shifted, transitioned, and literally mastered the craft of funnel building. So that's where the entire focus, was in. Focused my way into the field and literally dived my way into excellence in mastering the craft. And it took me to where I am now. So I think this is going to be a game changer for everybody of you, for everyone listening to the show and watching us. Let's get our special guest on our show. Guys, she'll have more insights about our topic today. And let's go ask her thoughts about, collaboration and how it helped her grow her business, Planable. Let's hear a word from our sponsor.
As they say, food takes people to places. So during these crazy times, one can take his taste buds on a trip to Western Visayas by trying out one of its specialties. If you've ever been to Negros Occidental, you may have already tried its famous comfort food, Kansi. It's a dish made with slow-cooked beef shanks and deep sour broth soup. Bacolod City is particularly famous for Kansi. It's an iconic Ilonggo dish that is now available in Cebu. Good news for Cebuanos. You can now indulge with a bowl or two of Kansi in Cebu. Introducing Cole's Kansi. Located in the heart of Cebu. Open to serve you daily. To order, visit and message them on Facebook. Satisfy your craving and relieve that stress away. Cole's Kansi, an iconic Ilonggo dish that is now available in Cebu.
I'm always flexing.
Cool. Welcome back to our show. Man, I am so honored to introduce to you a very special guest on today's podcast show. But wait, I have to be very honest with you, okay? I never literally came across her name until her team emailed me and reached out to me and introduced our guest today. The moment I saw her credentials and then I saw what her company brings to the table for funnel experts like myself here in the Philippines and the huge amount of client base I'm serving, I was literally blown by her. Really. I mean, she is the founder of Planable. It's a content review and marketing collaboration platform used by over 5,000 teams and brands like Jaguar, Land Rover, Viber, and of course, the United Nations. And for the past 4 years, she has worked with hundreds of marketing teams, helping them collaborate efficiently from across the room down to across the globe. So with thousands of marketers suddenly working at home, it's about time to, discuss about that, considering the pandemic situation that the entire world is experiencing. I think it's about the high time to hear from a supreme and elite expert. She is also a recognized Forbes 30 Under 30 awardee, spoke at Cannes Lions, and has been a guest on Growth Marketing Today, Social Geek, Social Minds, and many other podcast shows. She has also published a book, The Manifesto on Content Marketing Teams, and has recently launched her own podcast, People of Marketing. But believe me, prior to that, with all her achievements in her belt, she also came from the trenches, like most of us do. She was a copywriter, a graphic designer, account manager, and then she built and decided to have her own agency. Ladies and gents, let us all welcome Senia Monten, the owner and the founder of Planable. Welcome to the show, Senia.
Thank you so much for such a grand introduction. I really appreciate it.
No, all thanks to you and all props to your team actually for finding our podcast show. And I'm really hoping that this also resonates to what you guys envisions. How are you doing today?
Doing great. It's a busy Monday as usual. But yeah, it's a good Monday, a good type of busy.
Awesome. And it's a good problem to have, Let's kill the Monday blues, as everybody says. But with all the credentials you have, Senia, and at the start of this podcast show, we tapped about and talked about the power of collaboration. So how relevant is this to you? And does this topic somehow maybe resonate to what your company Planable envisions?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it resonates to me on a very, personal level more than, what I'm building with my company today. Mm-hmm. I think I was passionate about a topic of collaboration since I started my first business. And in a way, since I started, my first ever venture, even before Planable and even before I started this company, I had a social media marketing agency, as you mentioned. And I was working with lots and lots of clients. I was building social media content for them, for their Facebook pages, Twitter pages, and so on. And I also had, a small team internally. I had a few copywriters, designers that I was, working with. And I remember back then how much I was frustrated with just the entire process of working in spreadsheets and in emails. I remember we had this huge spreadsheet that we were just sending around between each other to align ourselves internally, first of all, on the content that we wanted to present to the client. Once we were happy internally, there comes the second stage where you send that to the client and then they approve it, they take a look, they give you feedback. And I remember that at first it was kind of doable, it was scalable, it was hard work, but still it was scalable when we had our first client. But then when the agency grew a little bit and we had 5-7 clients, it was not doable anymore. I felt
chaos so happens.
I felt like so much of my time was just being spent on trying to track feedback from different clients. Someone was calling me directly to tell me their feedback. Someone else was, emailing me. Someone else was like commenting directly on the spreadsheet, which was like obviously the best version. But it was a lot of time just trying to navigate that entire system that we hacked together. That was working, but it was not efficient, and it was not a delightful way of working in the end. You're stuck in those cells, and you're spending all your time working in that very clunky spreadsheet. So I wanted a more visual way of working, and that's kind of how Planable got started. And I remember that I felt that this entire process of collaboration, it needs to be a part of the process. Definitely, you need to collaborate internally within your own agency, because that's how the best and brightest ideas get born. But also, you need to collaborate very tightly with your clients, because that's how the best results get achieved. They know more about the business than you do. Exactly. They've been there for longer than you are. And some agencies shy away from involving their clients in the process because we know best what to do. And yes, definitely, you're the expert in that specific service that you're providing, but your client is the expert in their own business. In their own business, exactly. Yes, so you need to get them involved as much as you can, because you might create beautiful content, but that content might not be aligned with their business goals, or it might not be accurate to the product or the service they're selling. So you definitely need that collaboration on every side possible, both internally, if you're an agency, and with the client. But if you're a brand and you're doing it all in-house, you also need collaboration, because
Xenia, I think with either possible business institution or maybe like what you said, an agency, it definitely is a must. Especially if you're looking to scale, right? Right. You couldn't be 100%. All over the place. And this is exactly what I was really interested about you and Planable, because it really brings seamlessness in the workflow, most importantly.
Yes, that's exactly so.
And what's the concept behind, and also the idea behind Planable? What was it, the trigger? When you were working back in the days, and then you experienced it firsthand yourself?
That definitely was one of the triggers, and one of my co-founders, Nick, he was also working back then. He was a software developer and was working in an agency as well, and he saw his clients, he saw his team members, they were working in the same way that I was, and he was super surprised by the process and how clunky it was, and as a software developer, he got this idea of why can't we just streamline it? And we got together, and that's how Planable was created, just by trying to solve our own problems, scratch our own itch, kind of thing.
So you actually made you were the case study behind the product then.
That's so. We were the ideal users, basically. Yes.
Did you open it for beta testers before when you launched Planable?
That was the first step. So we actually opened it on a few beta pages, beta lists, I think, a few websites like that for early adopters. And we did that, and that actually helped us so much to put it on the market. Invaluable feedback that we received from those communities. And then I think we kept it in beta for about a year, and then that's when we decided, okay, it seems like it's working, we're receiving pretty good feedback from people, let's put it in the wild, launch it in the wild.
Amazing. And that's exactly what I figured, because maybe again, for me personally, I think still, even up to date, the best powerful marketing tool is by word of mouth. And when people experience, like what you said, companies experiencing what Planable is all about, it's a no-brainer to recommend, the program or the product itself for people to use, right? And it's pretty amazing. How long have you put up Planable, by the way?
So we started the company about 4 years ago, but we launched the product on the market for, I think, the past 2.5 years, something like that. So pretty early stage. And I think it kind of makes sense a bit because, looking at social media in the beginning, social media was something that you were just giving to someone else, to like an intern to do, or, usually a one-man show. And just, in the past 5 to 10 years, if you look at the market, past 5, I would say, years, social media has become, and content has become this, bigger budgets and definitely bigger headcounts, so larger teams. And that's why, collaboration has become so important in this field. And, that's why our company, is pretty early stage.
Awesome. And could really help a lot of people, not just like for agencies, but for bigger companies. And I think for me, personally for me, I've been managing several campaigns too. And I've also have tons and tons of people, and it's really a pain in the ass to manage every single aspect of it. And that's when I heard about Planable. I was really blown by the concept, and I studied it very in depth, because somehow, not just for me personally, it could really also help my clientele as well, in that reference. But in your case, speaking about clientele, do you serve? Who do you serve, and how does your platform impact business success, you think?
Yeah, sure. So we work on the both sides of the table. We work both with agencies that have clients in the social media marketing space, but also with brands that do social media in-house. So really with any social media teams out there, either, outsourced ones or in-house ones. And the way we measure our success and the way we measure our own impact in those businesses is by how much time they're saving. Now, yes, exactly. Now, we've talked with customers, from smaller customers to enterprise customers, from agencies to in-house brands, just all across the spectrum. And what we've seen, what we've heard from them is that Planable saves them from 20 to 30% on the time they spend building and planning content. So it's quite a huge amount of time.
It is a huge amount.
And it totally makes sense, because if you think like how much time it requires to manage a spreadsheet, like the copy pasting from one cell to another, the formatting, or making that spreadsheet look pretty so you can share it with coworkers and not be ashamed of how clunky it looks. And just a lot of time that you put into maintaining and working on that spreadsheet, and all the time that is lost just trying to track feedback, edit it. So we really save all of that time. That's why, such a big number.
Yeah, it is a huge number, 20 to 30% savings on your time spent. And I think it could really benefit from that, because I really suck at spreadsheet, just so you know. I'm good at reporting, but using it might be too much pain for me to handle. That is why I have so many people that's managing it when reporting comes, or maybe brainstorming comes in. So definitely a huge impact in, personally, in my opinion, that could help my company grow as well, for sure. Now, I know that you've really established yourself. In fact, you are recognized by Forbes 30 Under 30. But I don't know, if this may come too personal to you, please let me know. But what was the most, perhaps, challenging experience you had building the company from the ground up to where it is right now at the moment?
That's a good question. I think the most challenging thing was that initial growth. Like growing to 1,000 a month, right? Like from 0 to 1,000, I felt like that was the hardest part, because you just don't know what works. You don't have any data whatsoever, any marketing data to work with. You don't have any, like you're just just starting up, and you don't know where your customers are coming from, what initiatives are working well, what are the things you need to invest in the most. So I think that initial growth part is the one that is most challenging. And you're also growing quite slowly at that point in time, so it's the most demoralizing one. So I think that so that's the stage where you're like, you feel like you're stagnating, and it's just like, it's just the beginning of the hockey stick, and then and then
Good example.
yeah, and then once you start growing, it's getting better, and you have data to work with, you have historical knowledge you can operate with and improve yourself on, iterate on that. But right in the beginning, when it's just so slow, I think that's the most challenging part in any business, really.
Yeah, I guess, yes. And I've been through that stage, and I really appreciate you for opening that up to us. It may really sound a bit personal, of course, like with any business owners, right, or entrepreneur, starting up a company or an agency per se. Literally that stage where you really want to scale, but you just really don't know how. It really happens to some, and I'm so glad that you were able to pull it through somehow. And because the product itself is very tangible, it has the potential to help business owners like myself and clientele all around the globe. Could you probably say that it was also the biggest breakthrough in your career when you're finally able to scale?
I think so. And a lot of things happened back then in the same period of time that we managed to figure out how to scale, how to get, to that, our first $1,000, a month. That was, quite a big breakthrough for us, but it also in that period of time, a lot of other things happened, like we hired our first employee on the marketing side. She became our head of marketing. We started, like the growth started accelerating quite a lot. We started talking to investors, which eventually led up to us raising our first investment, our first seed level investment. And I think it's kind of all tied together, all of those things. So I would definitely consider that one of our biggest breakthroughs. It eventually led up to a lot of great things.
Yeah, and opened up so many opportunities.
Exactly.
The moment, it happened.
Exactly. Yes.
Awesome. Hey, I so love the story behind the company and yourself. And again, it's such a great honor and privilege for me hearing this out, and of course my audience as well, listening for this podcast. And having to have a business like this, I really wanted to pick your brain. Maybe, what can you probably advise for people that are thinking about venturing into entrepreneurship, or perhaps looking into trying to break through with their careers?
Yeah, I think my advice would still be kind of related to collaboration in a way, more about networking, really. I think it's so crucial to build a network very early on when you just start, building your company. And you don't have to do that through events necessarily, because that's hard right now. Going to events, going to meetups, that kind of stuff, that's not really possible right now. True. There's other ways, communities, forums, Facebook groups, accelerators. If you're building, a company, you might get into, one accelerator, like startup program. You could start, building your own podcast and, inviting awesome people on the show and interview them. That's a great way to network. That's one of the reasons why I started my own podcast, to be honest. Nice. And I think, just building that network very, very early on and investing in relationships, not just business cards, but actually, investing in those relationships. I think that's extremely crucial because, you never know how those people can help you, genuinely help you later on in your career, later on in your business. And I think much of what Planable is today is because of that entire network that we've built that helped us recommend us to clients or introduce us to potential investors. So a lot of those things happened just because we had a really great network that we invested into and that helped us, supported us, and helped us become where we are today.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, literally. So I think that's also the reason why I started running my own podcast show. Literally, that was the idea behind. It's cool to meet, successful people, getting people inspired through the audience listening. to my show and watching it over as well. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. Build your network, maintain your pace, focus on what you do best. And just like as you said, it could be a good starting point as well for people, knowing how you started, right? And how you were able to, break free and transition from some of the painful events that may have happened while building up Planable, starting up, and then finally breaking loose and getting it to another level like that. So awesome stuff, awesome stuff. Anyway, what's your final take about collaboration, Senya?
Man, collaboration, I think it's such a huge topic. It's so big. I think my final take would be to just tackle it step by step. I think lots of teams are intimidated in a way by like this huge topic, collaboration processes, workflows. And it's also so boring, right? It's like sounds so boring. But I think, you need to just like tackle it step by step, figure out, small problems and small miscommunications that you have and just try, to solve them one by one. And, don't try to like build a process from the get-go. Like if you're just starting out as a team in marketing or as a team in general, because it applies to everything, everything in collaboration. But like if you're starting as a team and you're trying to build a process, yes, do not wait too long to build it, because if you just start and work and you do not build like a workflow in place, and if you do not put some processes in place, you're going to accumulate a lot of what I call operational debt, meaning that you're just gonna try to make it work and it's gonna be a very broken process. But at the same time, do not try to make like this entire huge process and get intimidated by workflows and collaborations. Just, start small as with anything else. Start small. Just put some small processes in place that work for you today and iterate on them in the future, and just solve, small little miscommunication, collaboration problems that you have step by step. And, just plant the seed of collaboration in your mind and, let it grow eventually, but don't get overwhelmed by like this huge idea of it.
Yeah, awesome. Perfect. Well said. Well said. I'm a big believer in that. Guys, you're just going to need to start. It's literally about it, right? And don't make, silly thoughts behind your mind, being so afraid, even about collaborating. Try to pre-frame your mind, perhaps, as what you said. If you've already pre-framed your mind and you're open for ideas coming from different, people within your network or your employees, perhaps, it's going to be a very healthy relationship as it pans out. And yeah, you may have ideas, but if you don't have a system where you store those data in and ideas in, that's where Planable kicks in. So, Senya, please tell us, where can people connect with you, or how can people go to Planable? For sure, I'm going to be putting links on this podcast show. But for everybody that's listening, please enlighten us and let them know how they can connect with you.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to connect with anyone on LinkedIn. Just leave me a note that you listen to this episode. But yeah, I'd love to connect with anyone on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time, and happy to help anyone that is looking into improving the way they collaborate in marketing, or anyone that is looking to start a business, really. Happy to talk with anyone. Perfect.
And guys, just a recap. The company is Planable, that you can find it on planable.io. That's planable.io. And Senya also has a book. That's the Manifesto on Content Marketing Teams. So check her out. And lastly, she also runs a podcast show, for sure. That's People of Marketing. Senya, I really appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much for connecting.
Thank you so much. It was really lovely chatting with you.
It is. I hope you had a blast.
Yeah, I did.
All right, guys. Let's wrap it up. It's been great speaking to our guest today, a very, very special guest today. And I personally appreciate you for accepting our invitation over. And once again, this is Nothing But Up, the podcast. and I'll see you on our next episode. Peace
I'm
off.
always flexing.
Thanks for tuning in. Download this episode and pass on the news. Hit like and subscribe. Watch out for our next episode coming out next.